Hello everyone. I hope my screen is visible and the audio is clear. If you have any queries, please you can mention in the Q&A, and for any other queries, feel free to mention your queries in the Q&A. I'll be addressing them at the end. So the basic idea to take this session right now is that at this juncture, many of you will be having many certain anxiety, certain doubts, certain queries, certain confusion about how to go about the preparation. You must be thinking about how you will be able to cope up to match the date and give the exam. But I just want to tell all of you that what you need to understand is that only thing what is in your control is the preparation journey, and focus on only what you're preparing, what you're reading. So it is important to understand that many a times what will happen is that when you sit to study, when you open the index, you will have doubt about whether you will be able to complete the course or not. So don't worry. First of all, you can give your best, and it is not impossible to crack NEET tests even if you start now. So what is important to understand at this juncture is that you need to give your 100%. That is the most important thing, what you all need to understand. The only thing what is in your hands is putting in the hard work. So that is very important to understand, that don't give up. Don't think that you cannot crack it. If you give your best, if you are able to study sincerely, put in the hard yards, then you will be able to crack it. So that is what I would like to tell all of you. Final 2 months, now it is obviously more than 2 months, but if we talk about the final 60-day mindset, because in the last week or so of the exams, I don't think it would be much of helpful. It would be just random revision. Many students what they do. So if we talk about the final 60-day mindset in the next 2 months, your thinking should be to put in the efforts, not think about the rank. Because as per my advice and what I want my students to think is that all of you should aim for AIR1. And why so? Because if you're able to get the marks to score a rank in which you are getting your desired seat, you are rank one. So don't think about others. Don't think about where others are doing, what they are studying, what you are compared to them. Focus on your hard work, where you are lacking, what is the lacuna in your preparation, what are your strengths. That is what is important to understand. Don't think about what is going to happen in November. Think about what you're going to complete today, tomorrow, day after. That is what is important to understand. And the most important thing, which I repeat every time and every time I talk to the students, is that hard work with revision, that is the key to success. Just reading once will not guide you to success. Many seniors, many mentors will tell you that read this, read that from this book. That is very important. But the most important portion is putting in that hard work and revising. That is how you'll be able to success in NEET SS. Remember that. So next, how you can structure the final 2 months. Now, initially, when I took the session last month, I told all of you to concentrate on reading and MCQ solving simultaneously. And I told you that as you come near to the exam, your focus should be on the MCQ practice and the revision of the MCQ practice, and remaining time to the theory reading with the revision of the theory. So this time does not just mean that you just solve the MCQs. It also means you solve the MCQs, you revise them. That is what is important to understand. Now, if I talk about how you can do that, now I'll be able to tell from the reference of our content, that is Sushruta LGS content. So if you go in the MCQ bank, you will cover all three books in the MCQs. So the first part should be your reading. That can be from either of the books or our notes, second edition notes. Then you move on to the MCQ bank after a period of 5 to 7 days. Then you move on to the scholar test, because that will jog your brain because you have asked the scenario based questions. Then you move on to the mock exams. So this will be your first revision, second revision, third revision. And when you revise again the complete theory or notes, it will be a fourth revision. So if you target that anything what you do, first reading of the topic, then the MCQ solving, then the scholar test solving, then the mock exam solving, each will act as a revision. If you plan your schedule according to that, you will see the difference in your retention. Because what we commonly make the mistakes in the final 60 days is that we read and we solve the MCQ simultaneously, and that actually does not help. It actually is not productive. So to make it more productive, the MCQ practice, to make it more productive, make sure you are doing a space recall technique, which I have been repeating many times. So practice with recall and final reinforcement. So how I have designed the content is with this idea that when you are reading and after a space of 5 to 7 days, or even if we consider the time period from now to NEET essay, it's shorter. If you want to shorten that time, after a few days, solve the MCQs, solve the MCQ bank. It does not mean that you're only doing reading. If you're reading a topic A, solve the MCQs of topic B. So practice, then the recall is important. And then the reinforcement, that is how each and every day you need to keep repeating what you are reading and revising. So it will help you to do multiple small revisions in a span of like, let's say, 7 to 10 days, and plan the week for consistency. Don't just do random reading and revision. Plan it. And as I told in the previous video, which I took last month, that planning a schedule is the most important thing. So now I'm not covering that portion. Now I'll be talking about very specific points. Now coming to the surgical ethos series, my focus to take this class is to talk about the nitty-gritties of the preparation in this last 2 months, because I do not believe in giving important pointer of topics, like a list of topics with this is important, this is important. I do not believe in that, because that is not how NEET tests work. So you'll not find that a list of topics in my lectures or my videos. I'll be talking about the strategies, because smart preparation, a smart strategy is how you'll be able to differentiate yourself from the others. So now if we talk about the ethos series, what I am going to start from 1st September, I'll be covering all three books in rapid revision manner. What does rapid revision manner means? That if I talk about a topic, it will be slightly faster, but I'll be covering all the important points with the visuals and the theory portions covered. And it will be having the slides and it will be given to you. Now, I do not believe in going for a crash course of 5 days, because eventually you have to read. Rather than, I believe, a space thing wherein I cover 1.5 hour topics, 1.5 hour lectures every day, giving you a quick revision of that topic in that lecture. And if I am able to give you a long-term schedule of the next month, you'll be able to plan your schedule accordingly. But what this will do is just listen to that video and read through the slides what I'm teaching. It will help you to revise that topic in that 1.5 hour. We tend to waste 1.5 hour watching something, doing a lunch, dinner, anything. It does not mean that you have to make notes when I'm teaching. You can just listen to that. It will help you to revise that topic, even if you have read, or you'll be able to learn something new when you're listening to that. So even if you are not able to attend it live, make sure you listen to the recorded session whenever you are planning. But make sure that if you do, I can make sure that whatever I'll be teaching, it will cover all three books and in the important points. So this will help you for revisions when you go to the recorded sessions. So we are starting on the 1st of September. We are trying to finish it by 15th of October. And we have planned the number of hours per topics, and we have divided into multiple sessions so that we cover it slowly and even you are able to grasp in that short span, because I do not believe in crash course of the whole day sitting and listening, because eventually you get mental fatigue. So that is how this is series starting 1st September. So try to go through that if you are interested in that. Now, important thing is the mock exams. Now is the most important time to start the mock exam practice. The last 2 months is the must for the mock exam solving. So as we have 5 exams, we conducted already in August. Now we have 5 exams in September and 5 exams in October. So make sure that you go through and give each exam, even if it is tough, easy, even if you score bad, good, you make sure that from exam 1 to exam 15, you have a up stage. You are going in a upper trend to make and correct and learn from your mistakes. The purpose why we are conducting 15, and we are the only platform conducting so many exams near in the last 2-3 months, because I want you to develop that stamina of sitting 2.5 hours. And I honestly advise everyone to sit in the time frame of 2 to 5 p.m. when your actual exam is going to be there. Sit for 2.5 hours, give in that time bound section based practice, and make sure that you are giving seriously and sincerely, because I can guarantee you that if you talk to all the last year achievers who have given our mocks, will tell you that eventually by the time they came to the last exam and the NEET tests, they did not find it mentally challenging because they were already practicing since last 2 months. Now, also, what it will do is that the topics what you have read, it will help in the recall. And for the analysis, this is most important, that if you're giving a mock, go through the analysis. It will give you how much accurate you are, where you are changing the answers from correct to incorrect or incorrect to correct, learning from the silly mistakes of not reading the question properly or misinterpreting. Okay. So these are all the things which you'll understand once you start giving the exams. Learn to time the question, how much time you're spending, because you're given an analysis in the exam that how much time you're spending per question. You will understand from your topic strengths and weaknesses that what topics you need to work hard on, what topics you are okay. So this is how the mock exams will help you. It is not just reading through that 150 topics. It is going through and understanding your mindset, training your brain to get used to that solving of that 150 MCQs in the time bound section based exam. And next, what is important to understand, I've already told about this, try to give 40 seconds per question. Now, what it will do is that if you say 50 questions per section, you are spending 40 seconds in each. That means you are spending around 2000 seconds. Okay. That is roughly around 35 minutes. So the 10 to 15 minutes you have for revision. So what I usually advise is that now when you're practicing, try to solve each question in this 40 seconds so that you have 20 seconds remaining for the revision, so that at the end you have minimum 5 to 10 minutes for revision. Because make it clear that once the 50 questions are submitted, you won't be able to revise that. So you have to submit 3 papers of 50, 50, 50 each. So try to train your brain accordingly. And I would advise all of you that learn to stick with your instincts. Don't change. If you're changing, see if you're switching to a correct answer or incorrect answer, that is important. And try to target to get 105 to 1110 correct, because I want all of you to score AIR 1. This is the target. This does not mean that if you're getting less, you will not get a seat, but try to target the highest so that even if you come a step below, you are in the ranks of getting a good seat. And try to target less than 35 incorrect in this mock. That is how you are supposed to do. Now, I've talked about the strategy, the thinking, the mindset, the daily MCQ practice, the mock exam practice, and the surgical ethos series, which will help you a lot. Now, coming to a smarter revision strategy. Now, this is something which is very important, that if you space your revisions, as I've told you, that theory, MCQ bank, surgical scholar, mock exams, ethos, if you multiple small revisions, eventually you will understand that this will help you to again and again and again firing of that topic, and this will help you to retain for a longer time. Because remember that to secure a seat, the most important thing is retention, because if you do not retain, if you have not revised properly, you will get confused and you will make mistakes. So this is very important. And revision also means that this is also something which I've covered, that try to cover the bookmarks, try to cover the mistakes where you're making. And I already covered in the last video about making a mini error notebook for the confusing lines, tough questions, questions from shorts, questions where making mistakes repeatedly. Make that error notebook and make sure you keep on adding things in the last one. You revise that again and again and again. And I've already told that use the content of ethos revision series and the second edition notes if you're not having time to cover textbooks right now. So we have devised content in a way to help you all, so you can utilize that. Now, what are the challenges which students face in this last 2 months? One is that when you give the mock exams, you will be staying in a stagnated score in the first few mock exams. Now, this happens because there are two things which you all need to understand. One is that many times you are having a knowledge gap because you're not able to read that or you have not covered the topic. So you tend to make mistakes in that. And secondly, because you are not able to revise, you are making silly mistakes. So that is where your score can be stagnated. That you will only understand once you start giving mocks, because it will give you an idea about where your preparation actually stands on. So this is why you have to incorporate certain techniques. Yeah. So this is the reason why I tell all of you to incorporate the mocks and the space recall so that you understand that how much you're able to recall and how often you need to revise. So that is the most important thing for the this 2 months, that you make sure you understand where your preparation stands, and you should not get stagnated in the score in the mock. So this is very important, that you need to differentiate that where you're making the mistakes. It is either your knowledge or the silly mistakes what you're making. Now, many a times many students will be covering a lot of material in the last few months. Don't do that. I already covered in the last month video that try to stick to a material and make sure you revise that. That is how you'll be able to retain and not get confused in two options, because that is where most of the silly mistakes happen. So next, anxiety. This is very common, and I personally followed it during my time of NEET SS preparation. That try to meditate a lot and try to stick to short-term goals of per hour or per day goal. And once you complete it, give yourself positive affirmation that yes, I am going on the right track. Don't get bogged down by negative instincts whenever you score less or you're unable to remember. Remember that now you have the time to correct your mistakes so that you don't make that mistake in the final exam. That is how you will be able to become better version, by every day understanding your strengths and weaknesses. And in case you are feeling burnt out, don't worry, just take a half day break and restart from the next day. So now I'll be taking a separate session just before the exam. But if you want to come to the last 15 days, when you start now and reach the last 15 days, make sure that you have made the weak topics, what you're having right now, into strong topics. That is important. That understand your weaknesses and try to cover it into the strengths by the time last 15 days comes. In the last 15 days, only revise what you have read, what you have made notes of, you have bookmarked the many error notebook or the mock exam solutions. Just revise that in the last 15 days. Don't read anything new. And only, as I've told again, that minimizing, yeah, the most important thing is to have a recall focus. That very important that you revise. And if we come to the MCQ attempting strategy in the mock exams when you're giving right now, because you must be either reading through our notes or Bailey or only the MCQs, incorporate all of them. And when you're giving the mocks, make sure that you judge the paper and try to attempt 140 to almost all the questions. Rule out and attempt only if you're more than 70% sure that whatever you have reading the question and options you're able to eliminate two, and then answer if you're 70% sure that yes, I'm able to recollect and this may be the right answer. Don't just random guess. Avoid that. If you're not able to attempt more than 140, then okay, one few of random guesses will do, but don't give in all. And learn from your mistakes now. That are you guessing more or are you making more silly mistakes? This is where the mock exams come in. And revise more. This is something which I'll tell 100 times, that revision is the key, and the space recall is the way to go to score more marks in NEET SS. So, what are the key takeaways from this session? What I want to highlight is that mocks is practice and analysis. It is not just about what you're scoring or what rank you're getting. The important thing is to practice those sitting and to understand through the analysis where you stand. Incorporate our rapid revision series and the second edition notes to cover all three books and get a structured material, and that will help in the rapid recall added to that. And again, multiple small revisions from now. Whatever you're reading, utilize a priority wise list to make a schedule and accordingly plan it if you're starting now. If you've already started last month, make sure that you're doing multiple small revisions and try to maximize the accuracy. It will take time, but try to minimize the silly mistakes. You'll be able to score more. And lastly, coming to the Q&A, if you have any queries, please mention in the Q&A so that I can address them. Yeah, it is okay if you start now. It is not too late. You can still start and try to give your best attempt. Uh, Yeah, the ones who have attempted last year, this year, you may be scoring well, but understand that is it because you have prepared well, or it is just because you have already solved the questions once. Understand that, but try to make sure that you keep on doing the mock practice. That is very important. Past year questions have not seen repeats in the last few years, so don't just try to go through the past year questions that it will be repeated. In NEET tests, I have not seen them repeating in the last few years. Biostats, I don't think it is important to give more time if you're not covered other subjects, but just to give an idea that what is important that you cover neuro, pedia, CTBS, plastic, euro. Many times students miss out on this. Uh, Keep the GIT at the last because you are reading it multiple times. Try to cover this first. Then the basic surgical principles. Trauma is something which you can do it with GIT because you guys can answer that questions easily. Then the transplant, skin, head and neck. So this is what I'll tell you priority one, two, three. And yes, endocrine. Now, if you have read Bailey, stick to that. If you are doing from our notes, stick to that. If you have read short, stick to that. There is no specific book to read from because questions are being asked from all three books, so it is not necessary. But try to make sure that you read in this. Don't miss out on this because if you understand that from this topics, if any question is asked, you have a 70 to 80% probability that you'll be able to answer it. But if the question is asked from here, neuro, CTBS, plastic, there is a chance that uh, from that subjects, there is a probability that you will make more mistakes. So understand that. The ethos series will be starting from 1st September and we'll be taking it at after 8 p.m., roughly 1 to 2 hours session, depending on the topic. If you have started fresh today, stick to Bailey, cover that from line to line, add on and incorporate our second edition notes, ethos series or MCQ bank for the preparation. But Bailey is the go-to material to read right now. Uh, if you have read Bailey for GIT, that is enough. If you have read Sabiston, that is enough. Make sure that you revise it because GIT, the questions you can answer. I've seen that GIT usually you are able to answer more than 80-90%, even though they are asked from anywhere. Uh, if you have stagnant at 70 to 75 in the mock exams, understand that you analyze well that where you're making the mistakes. Is it because of knowledge? Is it because of silly mistakes? Or is it because you're getting confused between the two options? If the knowledge gap is there, you need to read those topics. If silly mistakes, you need to slow down. If you're getting confused, you need to revise more. Ethos series is based on the Bailey Savison Schwartz, and it will be incorporating the second edition notes with the textbook, with the images and everything. Even if you have read something else, it is fine. You will be able to listen and understand because we'll be teaching it. It is not just notes based thing. You will be teaching it, so you'll be able to understand that. So don't worry about that. It does not mean that if you don't have a second edition notes, the Ethos series is not useful. Ethos series is entirely different than the second edition notes. MCQ to reading time, I've told that now 50 to 60% MCQ solving, remaining time theory, revision, and reading. Don't worry about new edition Saveston. I don't think the paper will be based on that because even if it comes in September, first weekend, it will take time for it to come to all the students, the faculty, and then the question will be framed. Usually, the paper is prepared in the for a few months before the NEET test. So I don't think you need to worry about that. Even if it is launched, we'll be covering the updates of the 22nd edition Sabiston in MCQs, in the notes and in updates video. So don't worry about that. We'll be here to help you out with that. If you are adding, you're reading textbooks now and you're adding it to your notes this month, or mid-September is the finish line, what I'll tell you. After that, just stick to revision. Don't just keep on adding new things because you will need time to revise that. So stick to what you're reading right now till September mid, try to read and then revise. A revision lectures schedule will be announcing from first itself. Bailey and MCQs is enough if you are covering from our MCQ bank. That is what I can tell you. Other platforms I don't know, but if you read Bailey and cover from our MCQ bank, surgical scholars, mocks, and the notes, I think it should be enough. You don't need any book to attend our lectures. You can just listen to that and then go through the e-notes what we'll be uploading in the app with the recorded videos. It does take time to review the mock exams, but trust me that if you review it properly with the analysis and you bookmark the mistakes and the tough ones and the important things and you highlight in the explanation, the next time when you go through that, it will become faster. But the first review of the mock exam is very important to understand where you're lacking, what are your strengths, what are the weaknesses. So make sure you do it properly. If there is knowledge gap in the topics, depending if it is in the specialty topics, what I've told you, neuro, pedia, plastic, if you have read from Bailey, stick to that. If you have read from Sabison, stick to that. If you don't have time, just go through our material. It would be enough for you. But yes, if there is knowledge gap in certain topics, make sure you revise that. See, breakdown for each topic I cannot provide because frankly, each has a different reading speed. But second reading or should be, if you're starting now, it is fine. But if you have read already, second reading should start by September mid. October mid, you should finish that. And then, as I said, after October 15, I'll suggest that all of you just revise, revise, revise. Yeah, it is fine if it is taking 1 day to review the mock exam because 150 questions. And as we are divided equally amongst all the topics, remember that you are covering all the subjects on 1 day. So it is okay to take time to review one mock exam. But if you do it properly, trust me that you are covering nearly 150 topics. See, I've told this many times that your target should be to cover 150 to 150 questions per day is a rough target, but if you can solve more, it is fine. But don't miss out on theory reading and revision. So if you have read from Bailey Sabiston, make sure that you go through the notes and if you see it will be helpful for you to revise it, but just go through it once and see if you will be able to revise it because if you have read from the textbooks if you've marked in it, then you stick to that. If you have not done that, then the note should be useful. So you need to take a call depending on how you have read from your textbook or from prepared your material. See, 96 correct or 70 correct, 80 correct is not something which is important. Over a period of 4 to 8 exams, by the midway of our mock exams, you need to understand what is your trajectory. It is going up, down, what you are making the mistakes. Is the topic same? Is the topics changing? So you need to understand and analyze each mock exam and then take a call. Don't try and read anything new now. If you have read something, stick to that material and complete it once so that by October you can revise it. So if you are making mistakes in thyroid, you have read from Bailey and notes, then complete that and revise from that. Don't go and read Sabison and Schwartz now, very honestly, because it may take time and it can become overwhelming. So that is something which I'll advise you on. Anything else, any other question from your end, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so I think I don't see any other question from your end. Yeah, I will advise you that you give from first to 15 so that you get an idea that where you're going wrong and right. So I will advise you to start from mock 1 and peer till mock 15. When you're stuck at a score, try to analyze that why you're getting stuck at that score. That is important to understand that when you are getting stuck at a score in a mock exam, that means that either that topic where you're making mistakes, it's the same, or you're making more silly mistakes, or you're changing your questions, or you are unable to match up to the speeds, as I told, that understand that is it because you are not able to recollect? Is it because you're not knowing the topic? Or is it because you are making hasty decisions in answering by misreading the question? So try to analyze where you're making the mistake, because that is where you will understand. Because now in this 15 mock exams, you'll be able to make mistakes, but after in the main exam, you cannot afford that. Question bank should be in test mode, because once you have done, then you revise, you understand that you are able to recollect or not, and you're able to understand why you're making the mistakes. If you feel that you don't have time, then practice mode will do, but try to do it in test mode. Don't go and read everything new. If you're coming across any new topic from mock, just read through the explanation, because I've taken a lot of efforts to incorporate that page or half a page or that whole topic in the explanation, so that you don't need to go to the textbook to read that. So just do that. Numericals, don't worry about in NEET tests. I've not seen that many numericals like they are asking in INSS, so don't worry about the percentage based questions. Yeah, with the ethos and the MCQ bank and the mock exam should be helpful if you are unable to do any other thing, but try to read the Bailey with the notes, at least if you are unable to read Sebastian and Schwartz right now. You can use, yeah, I am telling you to use the question bank in revision, because once you've done the reading after a few days, solve the MCQs from the question arsenal, then move on to the scholar test and then the mock exam. That is how you will do multiple revisions. Remember that GIT you all have read in your MS and you have revised it again and again. So just stick to the mock exam, just stick to the things what you have read and try to revise in between small topics. Try to cover other topics, so that when it comes to the last 15 days, once you have read almost all the topics and only GIT some topics are left, you will be in the safer mindset, because we tend to concentrate more time on GIT, less on other topics, because we feel good when you're reading GIT, but that is not the case. Read GIT in between, incorporate other topics. That is how you can revise GIT more. Any other queries? Please let me know. Any more questions? From basic principles, Intel, you can just remember, I'll be covering that in ethos, but try to just remember the important interleukins. You don't need to read everything from Sebastian. For the TNM and cancer, I'll advise you that what is given in recent edition, 20th edition Bailey is updated from NCCN, because it is recently published. So you can stick to that, because going through all the cancers in NCCN is not possible. So just stick to Bailey. It becomes overwhelming because we have made the questions tough, so that you are getting used to the tough questions now. But don't get bogged down. Just go through the explanation, understand that why you made the mistake, why you scored less, and try to become better in the next test or in the next mock. And that is how you'll be able to become better. It is always better that if you score less right now, you will work harder instead of staying in that pseudo confidence. So try to learn from mistakes, have a positive mindset that it is okay. I have made the mistake right now. I have 2 months to go. I can correct it and become better. Don't get negative that I have scored less. Think that, okay, it is better I've scored less now, so that I can score good in the final exam. You need to concentrate on all topics equally. I'll not tell that any topic has more weightage or not. You'll have to cover everything properly. Yeah, it is okay if you are able to just do the Bailey and the MCQ bank with our notes. It should be enough for you.